Imagine a world where humans, despite all their inventions and clever solutions, have decided that the ultimate way to deal with their trash is to throw it straight into the heart of a volcano. Yes, a real fiery magma-churning volcano. One of the most unforgiving forces of nature on Earth. Lava lakes, explosive eruptions, clouds of toxic gas. The kind of place where no living thing would dare to step. And if so, what would really happen if we tried? This is Altanate, and here's what would unfold if we dumped our trash into volcanoes. Americans alone produce around 254 million tons of trash every single year. That's just one country, 1 year, and it's hard to even grasp the scale of that mountain of waste. Plastic, paper, metals, organic matter, chemical waste, all piled up, landfilled, burned, or sometimes left to leach into the environment. Now, volcanoes might look like natural ovens, slowly bubbling away in remote parts of the world, spewing molten rock as if ready to swallow our mess without complaint. But nature, as always, is far less cooperative than it seems. The first challenge is obvious. Not all volcanoes are created equal. When most people imagine a volcano, they picture a cone-shaped mountain with lava oozing lazily from the crater. That's not the reality of what we need. For trash disposal, we'd be hunting for something very specific, a shield volcano. These are slow-erupting, broad volcanoes with lava lakes that flow gradually. They're the gentle giants of the volcanic world, the ones that might, theoretically, be coaxed into digesting our trash. Unfortunately, they're incredibly rare. There are only about 1,500 potentially active volcanoes worldwide, and only a fraction of those are shield volcanoes with lava lakes suitable for this hypothetical mission. Most are SDR volcanoes, the dramatic explosive types that build pressure until they literally explode. Dumping trash there would be a career-ending decision before the first bag even hits the surface. But let's assume for a moment that luck is on our side, and we locate a perfect shield volcano. You might think the logistics are simple. Load trucks, drive to the crater, toss the trash in, problem solved. In reality, the logistics are nightmarish. First, volcanoes are often located in isolated, treacherous regions. Roads, if they exist, are prone to landslides and volcanic activity. Helicopters? Possible, but only at the cost of astronomical fuel and risk. Then comes the personal risk. Standing at the edge of a lava lake isn't a casual career choice. Even a few steps too close to the molten rock and the gases alone, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, hydrochloric acid in mist form, can incapacitate a human in seconds. Add in lava spatter and projectile rocks, and it quickly becomes clear that anyone assigned to this task would need nerves of steel and probably a death wish. Now imagine the first bag of trash being dropped into the lava lake. You might assume it would simply melt away, but the reality is far more explosive. Lava lakes are deceptive. They're not calm, molten suits waiting to be stirred. They're pressurized, unstable, and volatile. In 2002, Ethiopian researchers attempted a small-scale test, tossing a 30-kilogram bag of trash into a lava lake. The result? A violent chain reaction. Lava erupted, acidic steam hissed into the air, and the surface of the lake broke apart unpredictably. Now scale that up to a nation's worth of trash, billions of kilograms, and the explosions could be cataclysmic, shooting molten rock hundreds of meters into the air, releasing toxic gases, and creating environmental havoc that far outweighs the convenience of just dumping it. Even if by some miracle we could safely get the trash into the lava without triggering explosions, the environmental impact doesn't disappear. Burning waste in lava is uncontrolled incineration. No filters, no containment. Plastics would release dioxins, chemical residues could remain partially unburned, and metals would not necessarily melt into harmless forms. Nuclear or hazardous waste? Forget it. Some elements would survive the heat and re-enter the environment, contaminating soil and air around the volcano. And the carbon footprint of transporting all this trash, whether by truck, helicopter, or even barges to coastal volcanoes, would be astronomical. The solution quickly transforms into a much bigger problem. But what if we get creative? If the goal is to harness nature's power for destruction, could we perhaps design engineered systems around volcanoes instead? Imagine using heat from active lava flows for energy generation, converting waste into usable steam or electricity before disposal. Even this concept quickly hits reality. Engineering near a live volcano is an extreme, expensive, and highly dangerous undertaking. Lava temperatures exceed 1,200 degrees Celsius, and earthquakes, eruptions, and unpredictable geological shifts make long-term construction nearly impossible. At this point, one might think, well, if volcanoes aren't practical, why not just shoot our trash into space? It sounds like science fiction, but orbital disposal has been proposed in theory. Launch a rocket, eject the trash beyond Earth's atmosphere, and never look back. Problems? The cost per kilogram would dwarf any conceivable municipal budget. Rockets fail. Some trash could re-enter the atmosphere unintentionally, creating fiery, toxic debris raining down on populated areas. Plus, the energy required to lift millions of tons of garbage off the planet could create more pollution than the trash itself. Space, it turns out, isn't the garbage dump we hoped for either. Back on Earth, other extreme solutions have been imagined. Ocean incineration, deep-sea burial, high-tech incinerators designed to capture gases and generate energy, or even experimental chemical decomposition. Each has pros and cons. Ocean dumping disrupts marine ecosystems and violates international law. Deep-sea burial risks leaks and long-term contamination. Modern incinerators are expensive, but controlled, efficient, and safer for humans and wildlife. And recycling, the oldest, simplest, yet most ignored solution, still remains one of the most effective ways to reduce the sheer volume of waste we produce. We like the idea of a single, dramatic solution, a place where all our problems disappear in a puff of smoke and molten rock. But nature doesn't work that way. The more we imagine extreme solutions, the more we realize that the simplest, most mundane approaches, reduction, reuse, recycling, and smarter consumption, are actually the most powerful. Volcanoes may be awe-inspiring, deadly, and visually perfect for cinematic speculation, but they're a terrible plan for waste management. Let's take a moment to really picture what would happen if we ignored all the warnings. Entire fleets of trucks, helicopters, maybe even barges full of trash converging on a single volcano. Lava lakes erupting unpredictably, throwing molten rock into the sky like fireworks gone wrong. Toxic clouds drifting across nearby towns, fires spreading beyond the crater. A chain reaction of disaster, all in the name of convenience. The very element we were trying to exploit to get rid of waste, the volcano itself, becomes a weapon of destruction. And even after the explosions subside, chemical residues, plastic ash, and heavy metals remain behind, altering ecosystems and poisoning water supplies. A dramatic, cinematic disaster. Yes, but far from a solution. And yet, even in this extreme scenario, there's something compelling. The visual and conceptual spectacle of it. It's exactly why channels like Altanate explore these questions. They make us think not just about the how, but the what if, the consequences, the ethical and scientific boundaries. It forces a reflection on the choices humans make every day regarding consumption and disposal. Because if we're willing to imagine throwing millions of tons of trash into molten rock, we're also forced to confront how far we've already pushed our planet with landfills, pollution, and climate change. Now, let's flip the scenario. Suppose instead of dangerous, uncontrollable volcanoes, humanity invents a method to harness similar heat in a controlled environment. Imagine enormous industrial magma simulators, lava-like energy chambers capable of digesting waste safely, capturing gases, and generating power. Suddenly, the volcano dream becomes less dangerous, more productive, and closer to reality. But even then, the scale of waste we produce requires a combination of methods: recycling, energy recovery, and reduction, because no single monster incinerator will solve the global problem. Ultimately, this thought experiment is a mirror. It reflects human tendencies to seek extreme, immediate solutions to complex, slow-burning problems. Volcanoes are spectacular, terrifying, and undeniably fascinating, but they are not a magic fix for our trash. And yet, thinking about them in this way teaches us something profound about problem solving, risk assessment, and imagination. The scale of ambition required, the dangers faced, and the consequences imagined make it clear that our trash problem isn't about finding a single dramatic fix. It is about incremental, consistent, responsible action. So next time you see a volcano erupting on TV, remember, it's not just a natural wonder. In the right scenario, it could be a catastrophic trash disposal system, a molten reminder of what happens when ambition meets nature's indifference. But more importantly, it's a symbol of the kinds of challenges we face every day, enormous, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. Handling our waste may never be as dramatic as throwing it into a lava lake, but perhaps it can be just as transformative if we approach it responsibly. And with that, the volcano thought experiment leaves us not with a solution, but with perspective. Perspective on scale, consequence, and imagination. Because while we may never dump our trash into molten rock, asking what if pushes us to reconsider the ordinary in extraordinary ways. It encouraged curiosity, critical thinking, and a recognition of the delicate balance between human ambition and the natural world. This is Altanate, exploring the fiery boundaries of human imagination and reminding us that sometimes the most extreme scenarios teach the simplest truths. Trash isn't solved by lava. It's solved by thought, care, and action. But thinking about what would happen if it were, well, that's exactly the journey we just took together. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to subscribe to Altanate for more mind-bending what-if explorations.